Chapter 481. Take them away. I've nothing to talk about with you. You seem like a decent human being, yet you're targeting women who are alone. Aren't you ashamed of your actions? Macy said unabashedly. Your words are too harsh. You have no manners at all. The man in the suit was somewhat speechless. He couldn't tolerate her insults. Well, who's the one shamelessly disturbing me? Do you think I'm unaware of your disgusting thoughts? You're a guy with a filthy soul, she said coldly. Hearing this, the man was stunned and rendered speechless. He could only lower his head and quickly leave the scene. Meanwhile, Willow and Zoey ordered a bottle of red wine and some snacks. They also attracted a lot of attention. Beautiful women like them in a bar would undoubtedly raise some intentions. A robust man with a gold watch and gold teeth approached them with a smirk. Hey, beautiful ladies, can I sit here and have a little fun with you two? His gaze remained fixed on Willow's and Zoey's beautiful legs. When they saw Golden Teeth approaching, the two ladies looked at him with disdain. Get lost. We're not interested, Zoey said, glaring at him. It's boring if it's just you two. Let's have a drink together and play some games, Golden Teeth said with a sly smile. If you continue to be like this, don't blame us for being impolite, Willow said, annoyed. However, Golden Teeth still had no intention of leaving. It's dangerous to not have a man around to protect beautiful girls like you. Please leave immediately. We don't want to see your face anymore, Willow announced coldly. Come on, let's dance. He extended his hand, trying to grab Willow. Instantly, Willow raised her hand and slapped him. She was the CEO of South Lake Corporation. How dare he try to take advantage of her? Golden Teeth was stunned by this. Nobody dared to lay a hand on him, let alone in public. Although the bar was noisy, many people noticed the incident. Immediately, Golden Teeth's subordinates gathered around. When Zoey saw this, she felt a sense of fear. He seemed difficult to deal with. How dare you hit me? Golden Teeth roared as he regained his senses. Sorry, she's in a bad mood today. Please don't mind, Zoey hurriedly apologized. She knew the type of people who visited bars like this. Moreover, Golden Teeth had a tattoo on his arm, which showed that he wasn't easy to deal with. It was better to apologize and appease him. Damn, do you think by apologizing, everything will be alright? He cursed. What do you want? Zoey asked nervously. I want you two to accompany me for a drink. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude, Golden Teeth grinned. He had a plan. Once he got the two beautiful women drunk, he could do whatever he pleased. It was rare to see such beauties in the bar. In your dreams. Willow pulled Zoey and was ready to leave. However, Golden Teeth's subordinates stopped their way. Willow and Zoey were taken aback by this. Each of them looked fierce and not easy to mess with. If you don't accompany me tonight, don't even think about leaving, Golden Teeth laughed. Johnny, what's going on? His subordinate asked. Golden Teeth's real name was Johnny Moo. He had a good reputation in the area as he protected the bars here. This woman dared to hit me. Boys, what do you think I should do? Johnny said. Damn, are you done living? How dare you hit Johnny? She must serve Johnny well and make him happy. Exactly. Or we'll lose our reputation because of this. The subordinates voiced out. Do you hear that? I really don't want to trouble you, but my subordinates aren't willing to let this matter go. You'd better be sensible and do what's right, Johnny said. At that moment, Willow and Zoey felt helpless. Willow began to miss Caspian. If he were here, these thugs wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. As long as Caspian was with her, she didn't have to worry about anything. But he wasn't here now. Zoey regretted taking Willow to such a place. Beautiful women like Willow were easy targets here. The situation became tricky. Are you mute? Speak up! Johnny was irritated. The people in the bar had noticed the commotion, but they were already used to such incidents. At this moment, a slender and graceful beauty walked over. It was Macy. She had noticed the situation earlier but didn't intervene immediately. She wanted to see how Willow and Zoey would handle it. She would only step in once they couldn't handle it anymore. Willow was indeed Caspian's wife, but she was too pampered by him. She needed to learn a lesson to be obedient. Now, Macy was standing behind the group of people. If they dared to act, she'd rush over immediately. Just wait, I'll call the police immediately, Willow threatened. You hit me first and want to call the police? Go ahead. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Johnny laughed. However, when he saw her dialing the number, he became a bit anxious and snatched her phone. What are you doing? Give me back my phone. Willow furrowed her brows as she shouted. I'll let you leave if I'm happy, Johnny said suggestively. If you continue acting like this, we'll fight you, Zoey shouted as she attempted to intimidate these people. But the two weak women had no real power to intimidate. After hearing her words, everyone burst into laughter. Ha ha! This is the funniest joke I've ever heard, Johnny laughed heartily. Do these two have no brains? You want to fight us with your slender arms and legs? They're really brainless beauties. You want to fight us? Where? Here or in bed? With beauties like them, I might not last long. Ha ha ha! Zoey and Willow felt a mix of anger and frustration hearing such vulgar remarks. They were alone and couldn't escape. Both of them were getting anxious. They truly regretted coming to such a place. Chapter 482, Overexerting the Body. Willow and Zoey were frightened when they saw Johnny's lustful gaze on them. They hadn't expected the situation to become so dire. Help! Someone! Help! Suddenly feeling that things were going south, both women shouted at the top of their lungs. The music in the bar was getting louder and more intense. Although some people saw what was happening, no one was willing to step forward and help them. Willow and Zoey were surrounded and helpless. Make way! Just as Johnny was about to make his move, a sharp exclamation echoed through the air. Everyone paused and turned their heads to see a stunning, only to see a graceful beauty walking toward them with long and slender legs. Her gaze was fiery, and her face carried a hint of anger. This person was none other than Macy. She had been keeping an eye on Willow and Zoey. Now that they were in a predicament, she had to step in quickly. If anything happened to Willow, she wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Willow and Zoey were overjoyed upon seeing Macy's arrival. Macy, save us! Willow waved at Macy and pleaded. Don't worry, Willow. I'll handle this, reassured Macy. She had always been protecting Willow, so she had to save her. Oh? Another one. I must take them all. Johnny leered like a pervert upon seeing Macy. In his eyes, women like her were even more tempting. Believe it or not, I'll make you regret your choices today, Macy said coldly. What did you say? Johnny couldn't believe these words came from a beautiful woman.
Are you deaf?
If you dare touch these two, I guarantee you'll be searching for your teeth on the ground after I beat you up, she raised her voice. After hearing her words, Johnny and the surrounding people burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, this joke is hilarious. Oh my god, I can't take it, it's so funny, so boastful. Johnny and his group found Macy's words unbelievable. Did this woman not understand the situation? How dare she talk so arrogantly? How dare a weak woman like you talk nonsense? This is truly ridiculous, Johnny smirked. Willow and Zoey knew about Macy's skills. These people were probably in for some bad luck. Macy had displayed formidable strength before. I really want to know what skills you have to make me regret it, Johnny laughed. He had lost his patience and was eager to vent his frustration. I'll give you one last warning. Don't push your luck. Once I make a move, it'll be too late for regrets, Macy said coldly. Pretty lady, let me cool down your fiery temper. The three of you are going to serve me tonight, Johnny said excitedly. If he could have the night with these three beautiful women, it would be paradise. He even worried about overexerting himself. Dream on! Your mouth is full of filthy words. I'll beat all of you to a pulp. Leave now. My patience has its limit. Macy gritted her teeth. Macy, be careful. Willow knew Macy was quite powerful. However, in the face of so many strong men, she thought it was better to remind her. Willow, don't worry about me. I don't feel threatened even the slightest bit. If it weren't for the crowd here, I would have taken action long ago, Macy confidently declared. Enough, beautiful lady. You're indeed attractive, but your words are too arrogant. I'm the boss of this area, Johnny said arrogantly. I don't care who you are. You're nobody in my eyes, Macy sneered. Good. I like your arrogance. I like fiery women like you. Today, I'm taking all of you with me. I'll make you serve me, Johnny said lustfully. As soon as he finished speaking, Macy raised her long and slender leg and kicked him in the chin. A miserable scream echoed. Johnny flew backward. and a few teeth went flying. Willow's phone, which was thrown by him, was caught by Macy just in time. A muffled sound followed as he crashed into the group of people who were dancing. Screams resounded, and everyone panicked. At this moment, the music stopped. The crowd was in shock as they hadn't expected Macy to be so powerful. At that moment, Johnny was lying on the floor, unable to stand up. "Damn this woman! She dared to hit Johnny. Teach her a lesson!" Johnny's subordinates exclaimed viciously, and all of them gathered around. Macy acted swiftly and kicked all the incoming attackers away. Those men couldn't even get close to her. She kicked them away with her slender legs one after another. In a few minutes, dozens of thugs lay on the ground. "I gave you a chance earlier to leave, but you didn't listen. Why would you put yourself in so much trouble?" Macy said. Now, Johnny and his subordinates deeply regretted their decision. If they had known how powerful she was, they would have fled long ago. "Willow, let's go." Macy handed the phone back to Willow. "Okay." Willow nodded, held Zoe's hand, and followed Macy out. Willow was truly grateful to Macy. If she hadn't appeared at such a crucial moment, both herself and Zoe would have been in danger. However, just as the three women were preparing to leave, a group of security guards surrounded them. The leader had a long scar on his face. He was Albert Roberto. He was in charge of maintaining order in the bar. These security guards were essentially thugs hired to oversee the place. Willow and Zoe initially thought they had escaped, but another group of people emerged. Macy furrowed her brows. There were quite a few of them, about 100. "Damn it! Do you think you can leave just like that after causing a scene?" Albert yelled fiercely. "What do you want?" Macy asked. "You've caused damage to the property and disrupted the order. You must compensate us," he said menacingly. "How much?" she asked with a tight frown. 300 grand! You've broken things and caused inconvenience to our business." Albert could tell that Willow and Zoe were well off. He saw this as an opportunity to make some extra money. Chapter 483, Beautiful and Skilled. "What? 300 grand? This is outright robbery," Macy exclaimed in astonishment. "Judging by your appearance, you should be wealthy, right? Can't even come up with this amount of money?" Albert said with a hint of mockery. "So what if we're wealthy? We won't give you money for nothing. Besides, those people caused trouble first. Go ask them for money," she retired. To her, the amount of money was nothing, but she wouldn't play the fool. "Macy, forget it. It's only 300 grand, Willow said. She wanted to leave quickly. To fight off 100 people was no easy task. It was better to give them the money and resolve the issue. "Willow, why are you giving them 300 grand for nothing?" Macy asked, puzzled. "I'm scared that you'll get into trouble. There are so many of them. It won't be easy to deal with them," Willow said anxiously. "Willow, you're underestimating me. These people are no match for me," Macy scoffed. She looked at the security guards with a cold expression. "Get lost! When those bastards were causing trouble earlier, why didn't you step in? You're a bunch of useless people," she angrily ordered. Macy didn't want to waste time talking to them and wanted to leave with Willow and Zoe. "Damn it! How dare you insult us!" Albert turned ferocious. He had been in this business for a long time, and no one had ever dared to insult him like this. "Stop talking and take action. I don't have time to play with you guys," Macy impatiently said. In her view, she needed to show them some force or it would be impossible to leave. "Attach. Teach her a lesson," Albert ordered. In an instant, the thugs rushed forward. Seeing this, Willow and Zoe felt uneasy and quickly moved away. Macy, however, remained calm. She crouched down and swept her beautiful legs. The thugs who rushed toward her lost their balance and fell. What followed was a near-overwhelming battle. Macy single-handedly fought against over 100 people. The screams echoed throughout the entire bar. Willow and Zoe tightly held each other's hands. They didn't know how confident Macy was, but she was their sole hope. Johnny had hoped that Albert and his men would teach Macy a lesson, but the outcome was shocking. Despite the 100 men carrying various weapons, they weren't a match for her. Her moves were swift and powerful, which were a testament to her special forces background. As Albert watched his men fall one by one, he couldn't help but wonder who this woman was and why she was so powerful. Macy's strength was on par with Sylvia's. Hence, facing these people was a piece of cake for her. She picked up an iron rod from the ground and swung it to the group of men. Many thugs were hit and wailed as they fell to the ground. Everyone around was shocked that she was fighting against 100 men so easily. Macy was beautiful and skillful. She was truly an extraordinary woman. Seeing this scene, Willow and Zoey finally relaxed a bit. In 5 or 6 minutes, most of Albert's subordinates were defeated. Seeing this, Albert couldn't bear it any longer. If he didn't act now, all his men would be knocked down. However, he had no confidence in winning against Macy in a 1-to-1 fight. Hence, he decided to sneak up on her while she wasn't paying attention and attack her. When Willow and Zoey noticed this, they wanted to remind Macy, but it was too late. Who was Macy? She had been through countless battles with the Diatoran god of war and was on par with a general officer. Her insight was naturally sharp. If she were successfully ambushed, her many years of experience would be in vain. Macy had long sensed something amiss behind her. When the steel pipe in Albert's hand was about to smash into Macy, she suddenly turned around. Then, she kicked it away and fiercely smashed the iron rod in her hand onto Albert's forehead. A muffled sound rang out. Albert was dumbfounded. How did Macy discover him? Blood trickled down from his forehead, dripping along his face. Then, his legs went weak and he fell to the ground. When his subordinates saw that he was defeated, they were greatly shocked. "Anyone else seeking death?" Macy arrogantly shouted. The henchmen looked at each other as they were all frightened. Since the opening of Rosebar, there had been many troublemakers, yet Albert always managed to resolve them. But today, they were defeated by a woman. "Willow, you must be terrified, right? Let's go back." Macy looked around at the people and said to Willow, "All right. Zoey, let's leave quickly." Willow didn't want to stay here for another minute. "Stop them!" Albert covered his bleeding head and said fiercely. Macy had knocked him senseless with a single blow, and now, he had finally come to his senses. He felt unwilling to let them leave, but he was sitting on the ground now, unable to get up. He could only instruct his subordinates to stop them. Those henchmen dared not disobey Albert's orders. They walked over and surrounded the 3 women. Seeing this, Macy's face darkened. She was furious that Albert dared to make his subordinates take action against them. Without a word, she stepped on his body with her long and slender legs. Albert's face twisted together, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he lost consciousness. Seeing this, those henchmen were scared to the point of trembling, as they thought Macy was ruthless. "Anyone else wants to block the way?" Macy shouted at the crowd. Albert's subordinates took a few steps back. They dared not stop Macy again because they didn't want to end up like Albert. Willow and Zoey looked at Macy with admiration. She managed to defeat over 100 people alone. This was too amazing. They now looked at Macy with newfound respect. After leaving the bar, Willow curiously asked, "Macy, why did you appear at the bar?" "Your good husband asked me to protect you 24 hours a day," answered Macy. "Willow, Caspian is so good to you. Although he's not here, he found someone to protect you." "How heartwarming," Zoey exclaimed enviously. "Yes. Fortunately, Macy appeared, or else we would have been in trouble." Willow nodded. "Why did you come here in the middle of the night? Can't you just stay in the villa?" Macy was somewhat angry. The 2 of them were just causing her trouble. "I was bored, so I took Willow out with me," Zoey answered. Macy looked disdainful. "If you want to have fun, do it in the morning. Now is the time to sleep." As the 3 of them chatted, they came to the side of the Rolls-Royce Phantom. Just as they were about to get in the car, several off-road vehicles rushed out and surrounded the 3 of them. Macy's face changed slightly. She felt that something was amiss. More than a dozen men in black descended from the cars, each holding firearms in their hands. Seeing this, Macy suddenly understood that these people might be targeting Willow. Chapter 484 Emergency Rescue. Macy took out the pistol from her boots. Willow and Zoey were extremely frightened at the sight. They had just come out of the bar. Were they going to be kidnapped now? May had guessed it right. These men in black were agents of the enemy. They received information that Caspian's wife was here and immediately surrounded the area. When they saw Macy with a weapon, they understood that she was not an ordinary person. Due to the strict gun control in Diatoran, ordinary people could never get their hands on firearms. These agents didn't waste any time and directly attacked Macy. A series of rapid gunshots echoed. They were so terrified that their faces turned pale. Surprisingly, Macy remained unharmed, while the agents fell to the ground. The intense gunfire came from the side of the bar. At the moment of the attack, Sylvia and the armored battalion had already taken action. She had been lying in ambush here for a long time, and unexpectedly, an incident happened. When Sylvia saw Macy bring Willow and Zoey, she thought it was safe, so she didn't make an appearance. However, 3 off-road vehicles suddenly appeared from nowhere. Seeing this, Sylvia instantly became nervous. When those men in black with firearms got out of the cars, she concluded that their target must be Willow. Without hesitation, she immediately ordered the armored battalion to take action. Their task was to ensure Willow's safety, and anyone threatening Willow had to be eliminated. If they waited for them to act and Willow got hurt, it would be troublesome. Gunshots continued. Macy saw that some agents were shot down and immediately pulled Willow, shouting, "Leave immediately!" Zoey followed in fear. Willow followed Macy, and Zoey followed Willow. The agents were suppressed by the firepower of Sylvia and others. They were unable to break free. There were some agents in the vehicles, but they were unable to escape the gunfire and ended up being shot dead. They had initially planned to capture Willow and then threaten Caspian, but they were too careless. Sylvia and others were protecting Willow 24 hours a day, leaving them no chance. The sudden gunfire plunged the bar into chaos. People inside the bar dared not come out. Those outside who noticed the gunshots quickly called the police. Zoey, who was about to rest, received a call from her subordinates. She immediately gathered her subordinates and rushed to Rose Bar. In just a few minutes, Sylvia wiped out those agents. "Willow, are you okay?" Sylvia came to Willow and asked with concern. Willow and Sylvia were still in a frightened state. "Sylvia, why are you here too?" Willow asked. "Caspian asked us to protect you in secret," Sylvia answered. "So it's part of his arrangements. By the way, where did he go? Why haven't I been able to contact him?" Willow asked. She had called Caspian several times, but he never answered. Caspian has some urgent matters to handle. Sylvia didn't reveal much. Willow nodded, confirming that it was as she had imagined. Caspian indeed had urgent matters to attend to. "Thank you so much. If you guys hadn't appeared, I really don't know what would have happened today." Willow thanked them. If Caspian hadn't arranged for Macy and Sylvia to protect her, she and Zoey would have been in danger today. "Willow, you're too polite. It's what we should do." Sylvia smiled. "By the way, with so many casualties, won't you be investigated by the inspector?" Willow asked out of worry. "Don't worry, I'll handle the remaining matters. Let's leave now." Sylvia was somewhat uneasy. She felt that this place wasn't suitable to stay any longer. Willow nodded. "Macy, take Willow back to the villa first. We'll follow behind," Sylvia ordered. Since Willow and Zoey were shocked, Macy was in charge of driving. "Okay." Macy nodded. The 3 women got into the Rolls-Royce Phantom. Willow and Zoey were unaffected even after looking at the bodies on the ground. After all, it wasn't the first time they had seen such a gruesome scene. Macy started the vehicle, and Sylvia and the armored battalion followed. Sylvia estimated that Caspian should have landed now and prepared to call him to report the situation. At that moment, Caspian had already arrived in Garthram. He had originally wanted to make a trip to South Lake City, but it was too late. As soon as he got off the plane, he saw that Sylvia was calling. "Hello, what's going on?" Caspian asked. "Caspian, Willow and Zoey went to the bar and were in danger. Some agents suddenly appeared," Sylvia reported. What were they doing at such a place so late at night?" he asked, displeased. He hoped. "Nothing happened to Willow. I'm not sure. It seems Zoey felt bored, so she invited Willow out. Fortunately, nothing serious happened. We're sending Willow back to the villa now," she said. "All right, I understand. Report to me if there's any problem at any time," Caspian said and was about to hang up. Sylvia added worriedly, "Caspian, there's one more thing. There was a gunfight and many people died. The Inspector General's office will definitely intervene. So, got it. I'll call the governor of the Two Lakes area." Once Caspian had finished, he hung up. Following that, he called the governor of the Two Lakes area. At this moment, the governor was already resting. Upon hearing his phone ring, he squinted his eyes and was surprised to find that it was Caspian's call. Startled, he quickly answered the phone. "Mr. Lynch, is there anything I can do for you?" the governor asked excitedly. "There was a gunfight outside Rose Bar. Some agents tried to kidnap my wife, but the situation has been resolved. Tell Joey not to get involved and just clean up the scene," Caspian instructed. "Understood. I'll handle it immediately." The governor nodded hastily. As soon as the call ended, he dialed Joey's phone. At that moment, Joey and her subordinates had already arrived outside Rose Bar. She was startled by the sight of numerous corpses on the ground. Suddenly, her phone rang, and it was a call from the governor. She felt uneasy. Could it be that the governor didn't want her to investigate this matter again? "Governor, it's quite late. What can I do for you?" Joey asked. "Have you arrived at Rose Bar?" the governor inquired. "Yes. Is there a problem?" Chapter 485 Passionate. "Stop the investigation. Just clear the scene," the governor instructed. Joey was puzzled. As expected, the governor was stopping her from investigating. This had happened many times before. "Why exactly am I not allowed to investigate?" she asked with suspicion. "All those killed are special agents. There's no purpose in investigating it," the governor replied. "What? Special agents? How is that possible?" Joey was incredibly shocked. "Enough. Don't ask too much. Just clear the scene." With that, the governor hung up the phone. Joey had numerous questions in her mind. Where did these special agents come from? And why were they killed? However, before she could ask anything, the governor shut down her inquiries. Since becoming the Inspector General of South Lake City, she had faced many homicides. Every time she tried to investigate, the governor would intervene. She now felt more like a corpse collector than an Inspector General. However, Joey had grown used to it. She knew the ones who killed these agents had highly respected identities. Otherwise, how would it have required the governor's intervention? Sylvia and Macy sent Willow and Zoey back to Riverside Villa. They didn't go far after that. Instead, they continued to lurk nearby as they needed to protect Willow. After experiencing such a perilous event today, Zoey didn't dare to return home alone. She decided to stay with Willow. There would be a military exercise in 2 days, so the situation in South Aridlands was urgent. After Caspian and the champion of East Aridlands, Benjamin Hart, arrived in South Aridlands, they began discussing the strategy for the upcoming actions. The senior general of South Aridlands, John Anderson, also joined the meeting. After hours of discussion between Caspian, John, and Benjamin, they finally settled on the strategy for the next course of action. Since it was already late, the group had to rest briefly. As soon as dawn broke, Caspian started preparing for the military exercise in South Aridlands. He also had the authorities announce that Diatorin would conduct a naval exercise and encouraged major media outlets to report the event. The news caused a great stir internationally. Astronia and Vedesia had just conducted military exercises near Diatorin, and now Diatorin made an immediate decision. In reality, everyone knew that it was more than an exercise. It was also a demonstration. Any slight mistake could lead to a world war. Even an ordinary person could sense the danger. However, many were unaware that Caspian was the commander-in-chief of this exercise. In reality, Caspian wasn't proficient in naval warfare, but he took the role of the commander-in-chief to stabilize the military's morale. John didn't dare to be careless either. As a senior general, he was always prepared for anything. If conflict happened between the two sides, weapons would be deployed. Sylvia, Macy, and the armored battalion took turns to go on duty to protect Willow. Luckily, nothing happened during the night. The next day, Willow prepared to go to work at South Lake Corporation. She couldn't manage the affairs in Dord City right now and had to focus on her current situation. Since Zoey was still afraid, she decided to follow Willow to South Lake Corporation. Willow had protection, and staying with her would undoubtedly be safer. Willow agreed to her request. Zoey and Willow stayed in the CEO's office, one working, the other writing. Meanwhile, Sylvia and Macy patrolled near the company. By the afternoon, Caspian felt it was necessary to return to South Lake City. The special agents had already targeted Willow, and although their plan had failed, they wouldn't give up easily. Besides, the current situation was critical, and Caspian wanted to assign more people to protect Willow. He didn't want her to be at the mercy of others. South Lake City wasn't far from Garthram, and he could reach there in an hour or two. Due to the special circumstances, Caspian needed to consider his safety as well, considering he was the Diatoran god of war. On his way back to South Lake City, 100 armored soldiers accompanied him. He planned to leave them behind to protect Willow. In South Lake City, Willow and Zoey spent the whole day at South Lake Corporation without any incidents. After work, Sylvia and Macy escorted Willow back to the villa. Shortly after, Caspian also returned to the villa. Seeing Caspian, Willow was overjoyed. "Hubby, you're finally back. I couldn't reach you, and I was so worried." "What happened?" she asked anxiously. "I just had some urgent matters to deal with. Don't worry," he said to console her. He couldn't go into details with her. "Okay?" Willow nodded. Since Caspian didn't elaborate, she didn't ask further. "Honey, did you miss me?" Caspian smirked. He lifted Willow and placed her on the sofa. "Oh! What are you doing? Zoey is also in the villa. It'll be awkward if she sees us." She blushed. "Let her see. We're having our private time at home. Why should we hide?" He chuckled. Then, Caspian leaned in to kiss her. At this moment, Willow's face was red from blushing, making her look captivatingly beautiful. She returned the kiss. She did miss him. The two entwined on the sofa. However, Willow felt a bit uneasy. She worried that Zoey would come out of her room at any time. The thing she feared most happened. Zoey did come out. When she saw Caspian and Willow, she was completely dumbfounded. Hearing the sound, Caspian and Willow quickly separated and adjusted their clothes. "Zoey, why did you come out?" Willow asked shyly. "I was a bit thirsty. So?" Zoey, too, felt embarrassed. She quickly poured water and left the living room. She didn't want to witness Caspian and Willow's intimate moments. "Willow, let's go back to the bedroom," Caspian urged. "Okay." Willow nodded. With that, Caspian lifted her back to the bedroom. What happened next were passionate moments that lasted for hours. Caspian and Willow were sweaty and satisfied but still reluctant to part. Such intimate moments were undoubtedly the most wonderful thing in the world. "Hubby, I need to take a shower," Willow said coquettishly. "Sure. Can I join you?" Caspian grinned. "No." She glared at him. How could they shower together? Who knew? There might be another round of activities in the bathroom. Willow walked into the bathroom to take a shower. Caspian became bored and suddenly remembered the Eldorian scroll fragment. If he could comprehend the techniques on both fragments, would his strength improve? Caspian's strength had stagnated for a long time. Now, he needed a breakthrough. Additionally, he had to study the 8 Extreme Fist. Chapter 486 Assassination. After a brief study, Caspian had grasped some insights. However, comprehending everything within the Eldorian scroll fragment in a short time was nearly impossible, and he wasn't in a rush. In the light, she looked even more beautiful, which captivated Caspian's heart. "Honey, how about we do some exercises again?" He scooped her up around her waist. Willow let out a scream as she hadn't expected him to carry her up. Caspian's stamina was too strong. They had just been at it for over an hour, and now they were going at it once again. He placed her on the bed, prepared to unveil her towel. The moonlight shone into the room, enhancing the atmosphere of the night. However, he suddenly felt a surge of danger. For someone like Caspian, who had been on the battlefield for years, his insight and perception were keen. He noticed a faint halo moving on the bed. His expression darkened, and he quickly glanced outside. As expected, Caspian spotted someone on the rooftop of the opposite villa, seemingly aiming a firearm in their direction. The previous halo was the reflection of the scope. Due to the distance, Caspian couldn't clearly see the person's identity, but judging by the figure, it seemed to be a woman. The woman seemed to have sensed something amiss and immediately pulled the trigger. Caspian lifted Willow and flipped off the bed. Willow was startled. She was ready to have an intimate moment with Caspian, yet such an unexpected incident occurred. At first, she thought he was trying out new ideas to increase their intimacy. A bullet shot out and shattered the glass. Willow was startled by the sudden sound. "Hubby, what's happening?" she asked, still in shock. "There's an assassin," Caspian said coldly. Hearing this, Willow was taken aback. Someone was trying to assassinate them. Honey, stay on the ground and don't move. I'll go out and see what's going on. Someone will come to protect you soon. Caspian stood up and took out the diatanium dagger before rushing outside. When the assassin saw Caspian suddenly standing up, she smiled and was ready to shoot again. However, to her surprise, he was too fast. She couldn't catch up at all. Besides, with Willow hiding, the assassin became somewhat bewildered. At this moment, Sylvia and Macy came rushing over after hearing the gunshot. They had been lying in ambush near the villa. The moment something happened, they immediately came to aid. "Caspian, what's happening?" Sylvia asked anxiously. "There's an assassin trying to attack me," Caspian replied. Sylvia and the rest were shocked to hear about an assassin. They had been patrolling nearby but hadn't noticed any suspicious figures. Caspian was the god of war. Nothing could happen to him, or they would be thrown in prison. "The sniper is on the opposite rooftop. Go and apprehend her, and send some people to protect Willow," Caspian instructed. "Understood." Sylvia nodded and then turned to Macy. "Macy, immediately lead people to pursue the assassin. Capture her."
Yay!
Macy promptly led the group of armored soldiers out. Though capturing the assassin was urgent, Sylvia couldn't afford to be careless. She had to stay here to ensure Caspian's safety. What if there were more than one assassin? The female assassin seemed to sense the danger and retracted her sniper as she prepared to escape. Zoey, who was sleeping, rushed into Willow's room upon hearing the gunshot. When she saw Willow lying on the ground in a bath towel, she was shocked. "Willow, what's going on?" she asked. "Somebody wants to assassinate Caspian and me. And they have a sniper," Willow said, frightened. "What? How is that possible? Are you okay?" Zoey asked. "I'm fine, just a bit scared." Willow shook her head. Macy and her team swiftly surrounded the opposite villa. The owner, awakened by the commotion, was astonished at the situation outside. Macy wasted no time and led her team into the villa to begin the search. Unfortunately, the assassin wasn't there. In the end, they could only temporarily take the homeowner away. The homeowner was bewildered. After questioning, they learned that the domestic helper he hired seemed to be missing. Clearly, something was wrong with the helper. The homeowner explained that he had hired her more than 10 days ago when she applied with her resume. Hearing this, Macy was stunned. She hadn't expected the assassin to have planned this well in advance. The assassin had been lurking here for over 10 days. Fortunately, nothing serious happened. Otherwise, it would have been troublesome. At the same time, the armored battalion searched the entire villa but found no trace of the assassin. Macy realized that the assassin must have fled upon the failed assassination attempt. Capturing her now would be a challenging task. "Caspian, the assassin has escaped. I couldn't find her," Macy reported. "It's fine, just continue patrolling." Caspian knew the attacker was well prepared, and that capturing her was unlikely. However, the assassination attempt wasn't over. "Caspian, I'll have people patrol inside the villa in case of any unexpected situations. I won't be able to bear the responsibility if something were to happen to you." "It's fine. You guys continue patrolling outside the villa. A mere assassin can't harm me." Caspian wanted to continue spending some private time with Willow. If Sylvia and the rest come in, how was he supposed to exercise with Willow? "Caspian, what if something unexpected happens? The enemy surely wants to threaten your safety. Assassins might appear at any time. Staying inside the villa will allow us to adapt to unforeseen circumstances. If something happens to you, we'll be the ones to pay the price." Sylvia was keen on protecting Caspian. Seeing this, Caspian felt helpless. He hadn't expected her to be so persistent. "All right, you handle it." Caspian sighed and waved his hand. Subsequently, Sylvia, Macy, and 30 armored soldiers entered the villa to conduct a thorough patrol. Now, the entire villa was filled with armored soldiers, leaving Caspian with no opportunity to continue his private time with Willow. The next day, Caspian prepared to rush back to Garthram as time was slipping away. He went directly to Southlake Corporation to bid farewell to Willow. It was uncertain how long the expedition would take, and he might not see her for quite some time. Upon arriving at the office, he saw that Zoey was there too. Originally, he had planned to have an intimate moment with Willow in the office, but that was impossible now. Chapter 487 Criminal Syndicate. At this moment, inside a rental house in South Lake City, shouts could be heard. Ah! Stop! Stop! A burly-looking man held a belt and violently beat 3 women in the room. The women cowered in a corner and cried out in pain. Will you still dare to escape? I told you not to run, the man roared. Beside him, a provocatively dressed woman observed the scene coldly. There was another round of beating. Please, don't hit us, we won't do it again, one of the women pleaded bitterly. Yes, we won't do it again, please don't hit us anymore. If you continue, we'll die. These 3 women had come to South Lake City for work, but were deceived. When they realized something was wrong and tried to escape, it was already too late. The man had taken all their money and documents. The man didn't stop as he gave them another round of beating. Enough. If you beat them too badly, they won't be worth anything, the provocatively dressed woman said. Hearing this, the 3 women trembled in fear. Please, we have nothing left. Just let us go, the women pleaded, but the man paid no heed. Shut up. Behave yourselves or I'll beat you into a pulp, the man said fiercely. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office of Southlake Corporation, Caspian was there to bid farewell to Willow. Willow, I need to go to Garthram for a while. It might take a few days. If you need anything, contact Sylvia. She'll help you handle any trouble, Caspian said. Huh? You're leaving again. What's going on? Willow couldn't help but ask with curiosity. It's related to military matters that I can't talk about. But don't worry, Sylvia and the others will protect you. Don't go out late at night. It's not safe, he instructed. Okay, I understand. She nodded. Caspian then left the office. At the same time, he called Sylvia to arrange for security near Southlake Corporation to prevent any unforeseen incidents. Then, he boarded a private car and rushed to Garthram as he needed to oversee the overall situation. Night fell, and Joey received a report of someone finding a $100 note with a SOS message and a detailed address. She was skeptical, but organized a team to visit the specified rental house. Upon entering, they discovered 3 distressed women inside. Besides the 3 women, there was a sturdy man and a provocatively dressed woman. When the 2 saw Joey and her team of inspectors, they were shocked. Take these 2 away, Joey ordered. The man and woman were promptly arrested. The 3 women were initially frightened, but were relieved to see inspectors from the Inspector General's office. It was as if hope had arrived. Who are you to capture me? The burly man asked, dissatisfied. Why were the 3 women beaten to this state? Joey asked coldly. He deceived us and beat us. He's a bad guy. He wanted to sell us. Yeah. If you were a step late, we would have been in great danger. The 3 women spoke out as they no longer feared the man since the inspectors were here. The Inspector General's office had recently received numerous cases of young women going missing, which had been causing Joey a great headache as the cases seemed to have no leads. Adding to her frustration, the governor kept stopping her from getting involved in recent cases. That left her feeling disheartened. Fortunately, she managed to catch some leads in the end and was determined to get to the bottom of it. You 3, come with us and explain the situation. After that, you can go home, Joey said, looking at the 3 women. Okay, the 3 nodded. Joey took them back to the Inspector General's office and inquired about the details of the incident. She also questioned the burly man and the seductive woman. Through a series of clues, it was revealed that the 3 women were deceived into coming to South Lake City under the guise of being hired as maids. Subsequently, they were confined in a rental house. Realizing the danger, the women tried to escape but couldn't find an opportunity. In desperation, they took out a hidden banknote, wrote their message, and threw it out. Only then were they discovered. An inspector reported to Joey in her office, "Chief, those 2 refused to confess. What should we do?" "They won't confess. Do they think staying silent will make everything okay? Use any means necessary to uncover their criminal syndicate. We must get to the bottom of this," Joey said fiercely. "But is using torture appropriate?" The inspector hesitated. "What's inappropriate about it? Why reason with such ruthless people? If we don't resolve this thoroughly, who knows how many innocent lives will suffer? We must make them confess and find out if there are any accomplices, or else we won't be deserving of the uniform we're wearing," she declared indignantly. "Got it." After Caspian returned to Garthram, Diatorn's fleet had reached the designated sea area. Benjamin began preparing for the upcoming exercises to ensure everything would proceed as planned the next day. They would take action if Astronia and Vedesia dared to enter Diatoran waters. The next morning, Diatoran's naval fleet started operations in the Sea of South Eridlands. Caspian, the Diatoran god of war and commander-in-chief of the exercise, stayed at the command center to direct the battle from the headquarters. Similarly, Benjamin, as the deputy commander, didn't personally go to the front line. After all, individuals of his status couldn't afford any mishaps. However, this exercise was significant, as John personally supervised the operation. The warships of Astronia and Vedesia continued to hover near Diatoran waters, escalating the tension between the two sides. Back at the Inspector General's office in South Lake City, the burly man and the woman finally couldn't withstand the pressure of the rigorous interrogation and confessed to everything. Their syndicate team was involved in trafficking women across various regions of Diatoran, and they sold these women to cruise ships bound for Vedesia. When Zoey learned this, she was shocked. She never expected this criminal gang to operate internationally. How audacious were they? If they hadn't apprehended these criminals quickly, how many more innocent lives would have been in danger? This strengthened Zoey's determination to solve the case swiftly. Chapter 488 Wait. Immediately gather the men and head to the port. Stop Vedesia's ship and rescue all the abducted people, Zoey ordered. The entire Inspector General's office sprang into action. All elite forces immediately assembled, armed to the teeth. Zoey, as the Inspector General, personally led the team toward the port. However, upon arriving at the port, Zoey and her team discovered that the ship had left more than half an hour ago. Inspector General, the ship has left. What should we do next? Asked the leader of the inspectors. Chase them. We must save the people. Prepare the speedboats, Zoey ordered without hesitation. Roger that. 10 speedboats were ready. Zoey boarded one with her team and set off in pursuit of Vedesia's cruise ship. According to the information provided by the burly man earlier, these trafficking groups were armed. After all, foreign countries had no restrictions on firearms. Hence, Zoey was cautious to avoid unnecessary casualties. The speedboats sped forward. But after almost an hour of chasing, there was still no sign of the cruise ship. Inspector General, if we continue, we'll leave Diatoran's waters and enter international waters, the leader expressed his concern. So what? Continue the pursuit, Zoey sternly commanded. It wasn't easy for them to obtain this lead. They couldn't afford to give up midway. But today, Astronia and Vedesia are conducting military exercises nearby. We might be in danger, the leader warned. I'm aware of the situation. Besides, our country is also conducting military exercises. Don't worry, other countries won't dare to harm us. With Diatoran backing us up, what's there to fear? Zoey asserted confidently. However, the leader was still somewhat uneasy and added, Inspector General, our relations with the other two countries are delicate right now. A major war could break out at any time. It's better to stay away from international waters for now. If you don't want to go, you can jump down from this ship, Zoey impatiently retorted. Hearing this, the leader dared not say more. After another 10 minutes, a cruise ship appeared on the distant sea. Zoey used a pair of binoculars to observe and saw Vedesia's flag on the ship. Full speed ahead. That's the ship. Over a dozen speedboats sped up and headed toward the ship. Outside Diatoran waters, in international waters, Diatoran, Astronia, and Vedesia were in a tense standoff as none of them was willing to make the first move. The atmosphere was extremely tense. No one wanted to give the other an excuse to start a war. The military exercises between the three countries became a confrontation with one another. At this moment, a cruise ship of Vedesia appeared and was closely followed by over a dozen speedboats. General, a Vedesia cruise ship has entered our designated area, and there are over a dozen speedboats in pursuit. It seems they're from Diatoran, the deputy officer urgently reported. What? Is that true? John was momentarily stunned. The atmosphere was already tense, and he didn't want accidents to happen. Without hesitation, John quickly checked the situation on the sea. Through binoculars, he saw a familiar figure. It was Zoey, the Inspector General of South Lake City. Something's wrong. Zoey is here with her team, which means they're arresting criminals. Something might be wrong with that cruise ship. Contact Zoey and ask for details, John instructed. He didn't rush into action as every move he took had to be cautious. At this time, the cruise ship of Vedesia was about to leave Diatoran waters. As the speedboats closed in, a dozen people emerged on the cruise ship, all armed with guns. They began firing at Joey's team. Bullets rained down like rain, and a few inspectors were hit. Return fire. Joey gave the order without hesitation. Both sides engaged in fierce combat. Due to the intense battle, Joey didn't notice her phone was ringing. John was monitoring the situation at sea, and upon seeing the Inspector General's office clash with Vedesia, he asked, "Can you contact Joey?" "No one is answering the phone," replied the deputy. "The situation is tricky. They've already left Diatoran's waters, and we can't provide assistance without risking war." "I must consult with the commander-in-chief," John said. "Yes, sir." In the command room in South Aridlands, Caspian noticed the incident, and his brows couldn't help but furrow. Coincidentally, John's encrypted call came in. "Commander-in-chief, there's a conflict between South Lake City's Inspector General's office and Vedesia. Do we need to provide support?" John urgently asked. "Have you clarified the situation?" Caspian inquired. "Not yet. I can't reach Joey," John reported. "Wait for now. Let's understand the situation before taking action. At this critical moment, we absolutely can't act recklessly." Caspian had his own concerns. If Diatoran were to assist now, Vedesia wouldn't just stand idly by. Understood. John could only obey. Immediately inquire with the Inspector General's office about what happened. "Yes, sir?" The intelligence department promptly made a call to the Inspector General's office and got the information. "Commander, there are Diatorians being trafficked on the cruise ship of Vedesia, and Joey initiated a rescue operation." Hearing this news, Caspian was shocked. He didn't think such incidents would happen. Caspian immediately issued an order to John. "John, there are Diatorans on that cruise ship. Make sure not to harm our own people." "Yes. Should we act now?" John asked. "Stay and wait for my command," said Caspian. "Why not act now?" John asked with confusion. "Their cruise ship and the speedboats aren't in Diatoran waters. If we take action first, it would give the other party a reason to start a war. Therefore, we absolutely can't initiate firing," Caspian instructed. "But we can't just sit and watch, right?" John asked urgently. "Unless absolutely necessary, we mustn't take action. I believe Joey can handle this matter. Let's assess the situation first. We can't act recklessly. Once a war breaks out, the entire Diatoran will be involved, and it'll cause too much loss," Caspian commanded. As the Diatoran god of war, he had to consider the overall situation and not act recklessly like before. In the past, he might have ordered an attack immediately. But now, he couldn't let his emotions cloud his judgment. Starting a war would lead to many people becoming displaced, and that was a scene Caspian didn't want to witness. Chapter 489 Miracle. Caspian's current role as the commander-in-chief was not aimed at provoking a war. He would prefer to resolve issues peacefully, but he wouldn't hesitate if the other party was unyielding. Understood. John understood the gravity of the situation and chose to follow Caspian's orders. On the sea, the cruise ship of Vedesia was moving closer to the exercise fleet. Joey and her team continued the pursuit. Many were hit on the cruise ship, but their speed of changing subordinates was quick. The inspectors' speedboats were small in size, fast, and coming from all directions, so they managed to deal considerable damage to the opposing forces. After a fierce battle, the firepower on the cruise ship of Vedesia diminished. Just as Joey and the others were about to catch up, Vedesia's front lines suddenly opened fire at them. Screams echoed, but they were drowned out by the sounds of waves. The inspectors on the speedboats were utterly defenseless. This sudden turn of events caught Joey off guard. She hadn't expected Vedesia's front lines to attack them. When Diatoran's front lines saw this, they grew furious and requested permission to retaliate. "Commander, Vedesia has opened fire. Please give the order." John observed the situation and promptly asked for orders. Caspian was witnessing everything through the satellite footage. He gritted his teeth in anger and said, "Issue a warning to Vedesia. Ask them to cease fire or face severe consequences." He wouldn't tolerate them any longer as he had endured enough. Since they had taken the initiative to open fire, there was no need for Diatoran to continue tolerating. A warning was issued first. If Vidisha refused to cease fire, the next step would be a huge war. Understood. Vidisha military. Cease fire immediately. Vidisha military. Cease fire immediately. Otherwise, Diatoran will retaliate. The loud voice echoed across the open sea. However, Vidisha forces paid no heed to them and continued the assault. Under the heavy firepower, Zoey and her team were helpless. Retreat, she ordered. She wasn't foolish. She knew that if they continued to fight, her team would soon be wiped out. The inspectors promptly began to retreat, but Vidisha's forces were relentless and persisted in their attack. Actually, Vidisha had intended to engage in a large-scale war with Diatoran, but they lacked a suitable reason. When John saw this, he contacted Caspian once again. "Commander, the enemy force is showing no intention of stopping. What should we do?" John urgently inquired. Caspian had witnessed everything and erupted in anger. "Take action." "Yes," John responded with excitement, and immediately issued the order. Following his command, Diatoran's military launched a powerful counterattack. All heavy weapons and fighter jets were deployed. Witnessing this, Vidisha also began employing large-scale weapons. Astronia became involved in the battle. Submarines and bombs were brought into play. Intense explosions happened in the sky, the sea's surface, and underwater. Waves several feet high were created. Such a scene, one might say, could only be seen in a movie. At that moment, chaos erupted between the three nations. Fortunately, all the inspectors of the Inspector General's office had already escaped far. Zoey couldn't have imagined that her pursuit of solving a case would lead to a conflict between she and her team watched in awe as gunfire filled the distant horizon. The cruise ship of Vidisha had also sailed away from the combat zone. Caspian remained indifferent as he observed the scene. He had experienced many battles before, and this was nothing new to him. "Report, Commander. Vidisha and Astronia have simultaneously issued an official declaration of war against Diatoran." A staff officer rushed in with a folder. Caspian was somewhat surprised as the situation was changing rapidly. He hadn't expected these two nations to unite against Diatoran. "Report, Commander, urgent war report. Filren from the west has unexpectedly opened fire at Diatoran's border." Another person rushed in with the news. "Damn it. The fact Filren is choosing this time to launch an attack on us clearly shows that they've teamed up with Vidisha and Astronia." Caspian's expression darkened. In fact, he had anticipated that other countries would surely take advantage of the chaos to attack Diatoran. But it was just too fast. "Lord Caspian, now that three nations have declared war on us, how should we respond?" Benjamin asked. "Dax Santos is in charge of West Eridlands, so we don't have to worry about it for now. Let's first deal with Astronia and Vidisha." Caspian's gaze sharpened. "How should we proceed?" Benjamin inquired. "Send the order. Have John rescue the people on the cruise ship first. Then, initiate a full war and crush the forces of Vidisha and Astronia," Caspian instructed. "Yes, I'll follow your orders," Benjamin said with excitement. "However, we can't be careless. Organize the forces with Diatoran and prepare for battle. Since war has been declared, they won't limit themselves to naval warfare. They might attack us on land as well," Caspian added. "Understood. I'll fight to the end," Benjamin affirmed. At this moment, the battle between the three nations had reached a climax stage. It was the largest maritime war in decades. Despite facing two nations, Diatoran's strength remained formidable and didn't fall behind. Diatoran's aerial superiority became evident as Astronia and Vidisha were simply not a match. John received Caspian's command and began chasing the cruise ship of Vidisha. Astronia and Vidisha were somewhat surprised. They hadn't expected Diatoran's forces to be so vigorous. After engaging in combat, they realized the significant gap between them. John's dispatch team swiftly caught up with the cruise ship. As they were already weak in terms of firepower, the criminals on board were terrified at the sight of John's team. Moving at top speed, Diatoran's forces quickly rescued the people on board. The women were all overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude. Afterward, the dispatch team sent the women to Zoey's team. They needed to send them back to Diatoran as it was dangerous to be in the waters with the war going on. When Zoey and the others saw the abducted women, they were surprised. "Thank you so much," Zoey expressed her gratitude. Afterward, all the women got onto the speedboats. They wept with joy, feeling endless gratitude for their country. Their country hadn't abandoned them, and even came to rescue them. Zoey was grateful as they had the country as their strongest support. Chapter 490, All-Out War. Despite the casualties in this operation, Zoey felt it was well worth it. As inspectors, their duty was to protect the civilians of Diatoran. If they were afraid of risking their lives, they wouldn't deserve to wear the uniform. This rescue mission held profound significance. If Diatoran couldn't protect their own people, they would be looked down upon by other nations. It might even potentially invite further aggression. Inspector Zoey, take them back first. It's too dangerous here. We need to return and join the battle, the captain of the dispatch team said. All right. I hope you return victorious. Zoey saluted them. Don't worry. We'll win. The team responded in unison and returned the salute. Afterward, they headed back to the war zone. The rescued individuals with tears in their eyes finally felt the might of their homeland. Zoey watched as the dispatch team left and returned to the war zone. Diatoran's naval forces were still in an engaged battle with Phoenicia and Astronia. Although Diatoran's strength was amazing, the other two countries were formidable as they launched a fierce counterattack. Commander, all the abducted individuals have been rescued, John reported to Caspian. Good. Immediately use the missiles for long-range precision attacks. Have our forces. Withdraw to Diatoran waters to prevent unnecessary casualties, Caspian ordered. Since these two nations had declared an all-out war against Diatoran, there was no need to hold back. Dragging things out with them would only increase casualties among Diatoran's forces. Understood, John acknowledged. Following Caspian's command, missiles were deployed to strike Astronia's and Phoenicia's forces. The launch silos in South Eridlands were ready, targeting the forces of the two nations. With Caspian's order, the missiles hidden in those secret launch silos began to launch. In an instant, the missiles were airborne. It was a sight most people would never witness in their lifetime. At this point, Garthram had also entered a state of alert. The citizens sensed the impending danger as they learned about the war between Diatoran and the two nations. Diatoran always made their national affairs public to keep the citizens informed. The media and television stations began reporting on the situation. No one anticipated such a large-scale war. The citizens were afraid. After all, Garthram was by the sea, making it the potential first target if enemy force landed. Following that, it would be South Lake City. People of these two cities were in a panic at the moment. Willow was working in South Lake Corporation with Zoey. When they saw the news, they were both shocked. What's going on? Why is there a war? Zoey asked in confusion. Exactly. I wonder how Caspian is doing. Is he involved in this war? Willow murmured. It occurred to her that the confidential information Caspian mentioned might be this. She was concerned about his safety. Don't worry, Caspian skilled. He'll be fine. Besides, he's a general officer, so he shouldn't be commanding on the front lines, Zoey reassured her. Willow had disclosed Caspian's identity to Zoey, though neither of them knew that he wasn't a general officer. But with the current intense situation, the war might spread nationwide. There were already people who wanted to assassinate us before, so there might be assassins looking for Caspian too, Willow expressed her concerns. We can't do anything by panicking. Caspian is a soldier. He knows how to deal with such situations, Zoey said. Sylvia and Macy knew that the war had begun, so they came to South Lake Corporation to look for Willow. Willow, this is an emergency, you can't stay here any longer. Sylvia rushed into the office. Where should I go, then? Willow asked, puzzled. Just follow us, Sylvia said urgently. But what about my company? Willow hesitated. All citizens of South Lake City must go to the air raid shelters. It's the same for all the staff in South Lake Corporation. I'll make arrangements. Don't worry, Sylvia assured her. Her priority was to protect Willow. Willow quickly packed a few things and carried her laptop with some important documents before following Sylvia out. Miranda and other employees were also evacuated under the arrangements of the Armored Battalion. At this time, several Army divisions were stationed in South Lake City. The atmosphere was tense, and everyone was experiencing this for the first time. Willow was worried about Carl, so she made a call. Fortunately, Carl had already rushed to the air raid shelter with the Stewart family. Out at sea, there were more missiles being launched toward Vidisha's and Estronia's forces. Despite their strength, they were powerless against Diatoran's missile onslaught. Deafening explosions echoed across the sea. The forces of Vidisha and Estronia were utterly defeated. The few-foot-tall waves crashed in again and again. In the face of Diatoran's attack, the two nations' battleships were sunk to the bottom of the sea. Caspian ordered John to remain on standby as the first line of defense at sea. Under no circumstances should other nations cross the coastline and land on Diatoran territory, as that would lead to catastrophic consequences. The leaders of Vidisha and Estronia were shocked to learn about the situation at sea. Their carefully prepared forces were helpless against the missile assault. Vidisha immediately issued an order for their war hero, Roberto Valles, to assume command and attack Diatoran. Meanwhile, Estronia ordered their war hero, Victor Obrian, to lead the three armies and wage war against Diatoran. These two generals were extremely formidable, each having participated in thousands of battles. This time, they would join forces and lead millions of soldiers to conquer Diatoran. At the command center in South Eridlands, the commotion had not ended. Report: Vidisha and Estronia have ordered their war heroes, Roberto and Victor, to lead their troops in an attack against Diatoran, an intelligence officer hurriedly reported. At the news, Caspian's expression tensed. This battle is inevitable. Commander, Roberto and Victor are both famous war heroes with illustrious achievements. Their combined strength poses a great threat to Diatoran, Benjamin expressed concern. Shut up! Why praise them at such a moment? Are we afraid of them? They may be war heroes, but I'm the god of war. Watch as I crush them, Caspian angrily retorted. As the sole god of war in Diatoran and the leader of 5 war gods, Caspian had absolute confidence.